Hi, this is Vijay. This is an introductory course on corporate actions. This course is divided into two parts, Part 1 and Part 2. This video covers the Part 1 of the course. What are corporate actions? It is a collective term to describe the entitlements of a security holder. The security can be either equity, debt, or hybrid securities like preference shares or convertible securities. One important thing to remember in a corporate action is that the action initiated by the company should affect the investor, not the company. For example, consider the following situation. Is change in company's name or voting in AGM a corporate action? The answer is yes, because it requires some action by the investor even though it does not affect the company. Is follow-on public offer a corporate action? The answer is no, because it neither affects the investor's cash or security nor requires any action but changes the issuer's cash position and capital structure. Is spin-off or demerger a corporate action? The answer is both yes and no. It depends on the type of the spin-off or demerger. The scope of corporate actions is very wide. There are five asset classes: money, bond, equity, foreign exchange, and commodities. Corporate actions apply only to three of them: money, bond, and equity markets. Corporate actions also apply to the derivatives which are based on these asset classes. They also apply to mutual funds and other collective investment schemes which are based on them. Who initiates corporate action? Usually, it is the issuer who initiates corporate action. However, investors can also initiate corporate action in some cases. For example, in the case of conversions. Sometimes, third parties can also initiate corporate action. For example, in the case of takeover or tender offer. Are corporate actions contractual or non-contractual? Most corporate action on debt securities are contractual. Example, coupon, redemptions, etc. Almost all corporate actions on equity securities are non-contractual. Example, cash dividends, bonus, etc. Classification of corporate actions. There are two classifications of corporate actions. One is as per the Corporate Actions Working Committee group. The other is as per the DTCC. As per the Corporate Actions Working Committee group, the corporate actions are divided into distributions and reorganizations. The distributions are further divided into cash distributions, security distributions, and distributions with options. The reorganizations are further divided into mandatory corporate actions, mandatory with options, and voluntarily. In case of DTCC classifications, the corporate actions are divided into distributions, redemptions, and reorganizations. Corporate actions can also be classified into cash corporate actions and non-cash corporate actions. Cash corporate actions are those which involve the movement of cash. Non-cash corporate actions do not involve the movement of cash. There are many different types of corporate actions. However, in general, only a few corporate actions are used regularly. We shall cover only those general corporate actions in this program. The corporate actions that we will cover in this program are cash dividends, bonus, scrip dividend, rights issue, split, reverse split, spin-off, mergers, takeovers, interest payments, redemptions, AGM and EGMs, and proxies. Cash dividends. This is the most common and popular corporate action all over the world. Dividend means distribution of profits of a company in cash to its shareholders. This means that the company can declare dividend only if there are profits. No profits means no dividend. Profits can be declared from the current year's profit or previous year's profit. To distribute profit, a company must have cash. Hence, a company must check both its reserves and surplus and cash balances before declaring dividends. Dividend can be declared either as a percentage of the face value, for example, 100% dividend or 50% dividend, or as dividend amount per share, for example, $3 per share or $12 per share. Distribution of cash to the shareholders reduces the company's reserves and surplus, and thereby the net worth to the extent of the dividend declaration. The reduction in net worth results in the reduction of the book value, which further results in the decrease of the market value per share of the company. There are some important dates in the dividend declaration, namely announcement date, record date, ex date, and payment date. The announcement date is the date on which the announcement of the corporate action is made. The record date is the date on which the company pulls its shareholders' records to find out the actual shareholders of the company on that date. Dividend is paid only to those shareholders whose name appears on that day. X day is the date set by the stock exchanges, which is usually 2 days prior to the record date. Since it usually takes 2 days to settle trades on exchange, the X date is of significance because if a trade is done on the X date or any other date after the X date, then the dividend entitlement is not paid to such investor. To put it differently, if an investor purchases stock on the X day or on any date after that date, then he or she is not entitled to receive dividend. If the investor wishes to receive dividend, then he or she must purchase the stock any date prior to the X date, which is called as the cum date. For all investors whose names appear on the records of the company on the record date, the payment of dividend will be made on the payment date, which is a few days from the record date. Bonus shares. It refers to the distribution of profits of the company in the form of free shares to the shareholders of the company. This means that a company can declare bonus only if it has profits. No profits means no bonus. Bonus can be declared from the current year's profit or previous year's profit. To distribute bonus shares, a company need not have cash in hand, but it should have profits. Bonus is usually declared as a ratio of the new shares to the existing shares, such as 1:2 bonus or 3:5 bonus. A 3:5 bonus means that the shareholders will get 3 new shares for every 5 existing shares that they hold. Distribution of bonus shares from the profits of the company reduces the reserves and surplus of the company but increases the share capital of the company. To put it in another way, bonus is more of an accounting adjustment whereby the reserves and surplus of the company is converted into share capital. This is done by debiting the reserves and surplus account and crediting the share capital account. This process results in the creation of new shares of the company by utilizing the reserves and surplus, which in turn results in the drop of value of the book value per share. Accordingly, the market value of shares fall. Like dividend, there are some important dates in the bonus, namely announcement date, record date, X date, and issue date. The announcement date, record date, and X date are the same as in dividend, which we discussed earlier. Instead of payment date, bonus issue has issue date. Issue date is the date on which the bonus shares are issued. The bonus shares can be issued as pari passu or as separate shares. If they are pari passu to the existing shares, then they are of the same quality as the existing shares. They can also be issued as pari passu from a future date. In such a case, the bonus shares will be of the same quality as the existing shares from that future date onwards. Sometimes, bonus shares can be issued as separate shares. In such a case, the bonus shares will have different identity and be of different quality. Such shares are usually called as B or C class shares. Scrip dividend. It is partially a dividend and partially a bonus issue. Under this corporate action, the investors are asked to choose between cash dividend and bonus shares. A particular time period is given to the investors to make their choice. For investors who choose cash dividend, dividend is paid in cash. For investors who choose bonus shares are issued. In case investors do not make any choice before the end of the time period given to them, a default option is selected by the company. The default option is usually cash dividend. The following are the important dates in a scrip dividend: announcement date, record date, X date, election date, payment date, and issue date. The announcement date, record date, and X date are as discussed under the dividend section earlier. The election date here refers to the time by which the shareholders will have to choose whether they want to receive cash dividend or bonus shares. If they do not choose anything, then the default option will be selected by the company. The payment date here refers to the date by which the payment of the dividend will be made to all shareholders who have opted for cash dividend. The issue date refers to the date on which the new bonus shares will be issued to all those shareholders who have opted for bonus. The scrip dividend affects both the cash position and the capital of the company. Rights issue. Whenever a company wants to raise funds through issue of equity shares, it can do so by issuing rights to its existing shareholders. A rights issue gives a right, without any obligation, to the existing shareholders to subscribe to additional shares of the company. The rights are generally priced at a lesser price than the current market price. The existing shareholders have the following options when they receive the rights: subscribe to the rights, renounce the rights, or sell the rights. If a shareholder has confidence in the company's future performance, believes that the rights are attractively priced, and has free cash to invest in those rights, then he or she may subscribe to the rights fully or partially. Else, the investors may renounce or reject the rights. The shareholders have also the option to sell the rights to another shareholder or a third party for a price. Such another shareholder or third party may then subscribe to the rights. In many countries, rights are listed on stock exchanges, and hence shareholders may trade rights on the exchanges. The rights are issued to all shareholders in proportion to their existing shareholding. This ensures that there is no discrimination or dilution of holdings in case all the shareholders choose to subscribe to the rights. The rights are issued as a ratio of the new shares that can be subscribed in proportion to the existing shareholding. For example, a 3:7 rights means that the shareholders can subscribe to 3 new shares if he or she has 7 existing shares. Similarly, a 2:5 rights issue means that the shareholders can subscribe to 2 new shares if he or she has 5 existing shares. The following are the important dates in a rights issue: announcement date, record date, ex date, subscription date, issue date, and pari passu date. The announcement date, record date, and ex date are similar to what has been discussed in an earlier section. The subscription date here refers to the date by which the shareholders who have received rights shall subscribe to the new shares. The payment of the money for the new shares shall be made along with the subscription. The issue date refers to the date by which the new shares are issued by the company to all those shareholders who have subscribed under the rights issue. Sometimes companies may issue rights shares with a clause which makes the new shares issued under the rights pari passu with the existing shares at a future point of time. That means the new shares issued on the rights are not of the same quality as the existing shares until the pari passu date. On the pari passu date, both the shares, new shares and the old shares, will be treated equally. Stock split. A stock split means splitting the face value of the shares into smaller denominations, which results in distributing free shares of the company to the existing shareholders. This in turn results in increasing the number of outstanding shares in the market. The purpose of the stock split is to reduce the market price of a share so as to increase its liquidity in the market. In a stock split, the number of shares increases while the face value decreases, and thus the total market capitalization remains the same. Reverse stock split. It is the opposite of stock split. This is used by companies whose share price is very low. This involves increasing the face value of the stock. This results in the decrease of the number of outstanding shares. The combined effect of both keeps the market capitalization intact. The purpose of reverse stock split is to increase the market price of a share so as to bring some respectability in the market or to prevent the company being delisted. Spin-off. It involves the creation of new independent company from an existing company. Usually, a division of a company is converted into an independent company to enable it to grow to its full potential on its own. This is commonly referred to as the creation of a child company from a parent company. The spin-off is done by sale or distribution of new shares of the new company to the existing shareholders in proportion to the shares held in the existing company. A company may spin off a division so that it can focus its resources and better manage the business, or it may use spin-off to sell less productive or unrelated subsidiary businesses. The reasons for spin-off can be varied. Mergers. It involves joining together by mutual consent two or more organizations or all or part of their operations. The motivation for mergers are usually the complementary nature of their operations, which are also referred to as synergies. The usual characteristics of a merger are neither company is portrayed as the acquirer or acquired. The original company ceases to exist as corporate entities. Both parties participate in establishing the management structure of the combined business. Both companies are of sufficiently similar size so that they do not dominate each other when combined. And all or most of the consideration involves a share swap rather than a cash payment. After a merger, the existing shareholders of the old company will get shares of the new company as per the agreed ratio, which is linked to their existing holdings. Acquisitions or takeovers. It involves one company buying another company. The company being sold is called as the acquired company and the buying company is called as the acquirer company. Upon takeover, the shareholders of the acquired company are given shares in the acquirer company in an agreed proportion or ratio. Takeovers can be either friendly or hostile. A friendly takeover is one in which the parties mutually discuss and agree on the terms of takeover. A hostile takeover is one in which one company is interested in buying while the other is not interested in selling its company, also known as the target company. In such a case, the company interested in buying approaches the shareholders of the target company through a tender offer. Under the tender offer, the company interested in buying offers a price at which it wants to buy the shares of the target company from its shareholders. Obviously, the price offered would be more than the current market price. If the shareholders of the target company thinks that the price offered is not attractive enough, then not many of the shareholders of the target company would offer their shares, which may result in the failure of the tender offer. As we can see, a hostile takeover is done by passing the done by bypassing the board of directors of the company and approaching the shareholders directly. This may or may not be a good strategy. It depends upon the type and nature of the business. Interest payments. It involves payment of interest to the bondholders on the interest payment dates. Failure to pay interest on time, including grace period if any, may result in default. Interest payments on most treasury dated securities are paid half yearly. Some corporate bonds may pay quarterly as well. Payment of interest is a contractual obligation and an important and common corporate action involving debt securities. Redemptions. This applies to bonds and non-convertible securities which have reached their maturity. On maturity, the principal amount or maturity amount has to be repaid. Non-payment of maturity amount on time, including grace period if any, will result in a default. Payment of redemption amount is a contractual obligation and an important and common corporate action involving debt securities. AGM and EGM. Annual General Meeting or AGM is a mandatory meeting of the shareholders of a company that should happen at least once every year. Important financial decisions, including the approval of the accounts, appointment and reappointment of the members of the board, compensation of board members, and other important decisions affecting the company are taken in that meeting. Anything that could not be discussed in an AGM, for example, ad hoc requirements, can be taken up in an EGM, which stands for Extraordinary General Body Meeting. EGMs are not mandatory. There can be as many EGMs as the situation demands. Proxy. All shareholders will be intimated well in advance to attend the AGM or EGM. However, sometimes shareholders might not be able to attend due to various reasons. In such a case, the shareholders can nominate a person to attend the meetings as his proxy. This is done by authorizing such proxy by filling a proxy nomination form and sending it to the company well in advance. The proxy shall have the same rights of participation and voting in the meetings which the original shareholders have. In this video, we covered the part 1 of this introductory course. The remaining topics of this course are covered in part 2. I hope you liked this video. Thank you.